For 8 years, he'd been just Mr. Davidson, the polite hotel manager who remembered everyone's name and never raised his voice. The terrorists thought they'd picked an easy target. They had no idea they'd just walked into the building managed by a former Delta Force operator. Welcome to Faces Behind Stories. Before we begin this gripping tale of hidden identity and quiet courage, tell me in the comments, what city are you watching from today? And if you believe stories like this deserve to be heard, hit that subscribe button. These narratives matter. The Grand Metropolitan Hotel stood like a monument to elegance in the heart of downtown, its marble lobby gleaming under crystal chandeliers. At exactly 11:15 p.m., the night shift had settled into its familiar rhythm. Behind the mahogany front desk stood Marcus Davidson. Marcus was the kind of man who became invisible through competence. Average height, graying hair, wearing the same navy blue suit he'd worn every day for 8 years. To anyone watching, he was exactly what he appeared to be, a dedicated hotel manager who took pride in smooth operations and satisfied guests. But Marcus Davidson wasn't his real name. The evening had been typical until 11:43 p.m. The Kowalski family in 1247 needed extra towels. Room service had delivered champagne to the newlyweds. Everything moved with the quiet precision that Marcus had cultivated over nearly a decade of civilian life. He'd learned to appreciate the predictability. After 15 years in places where predictability meant you were probably about to die, the gentle chaos of hotel management felt like meditation. Complaints about thread counts were problems he could solve with phone calls, not tactical insertions and classified objectives. Marcus was updating the housekeeping schedule when the first anomaly appeared on camera 3. 6 men in dark suits entered through the main lobby doors. They moved with purpose, but something about their formation caught his attention. They weren't walking like guests. They walked like operators. The recognition hit him like cold water. The way they scanned the room, the way they positioned themselves to cover multiple angles. These weren't guests, and they definitely weren't here for the conference rooms. Marcus's hand moved instinctively toward his hip, where for 15 years he'd carried a sidearm. Nothing there now but fabric. He hadn't touched a weapon in 8 years. That life was supposed to be over. The lead man approached the front desk with a smile that didn't reach his eyes. Eastern European accent, Marcus noted automatically. "Good evening," the man said pleasantly. "We would like to book the entire hotel for a private event." Sarah, the young concierge, looked up confused. "I'm sorry, sir, but we don't handle large bookings at the front desk." "Now," the man interrupted, still smiling. "We need it now." Marcus stepped forward smoothly, positioning himself between Sarah and the stranger. "I'm the night manager. Perhaps I can help you. What kind of event were you thinking?" The man studied Marcus, and in that pause, Marcus saw the calculation happening behind his eyes. This wasn't a businessman. This was a predator evaluating potential threats. "A private gathering," the man said finally. "Very private. We will need all guests to remain in their rooms for the next few hours." That's when Marcus noticed the bulges under their jackets. Not businessman bulges, weapon bulges, professional weapon bulges. And the way the other 5 had spread out wasn't random. They'd taken positions to control elevators, stairs, exits. This wasn't a robbery. This was control. This was containment. Marcus had seen this kind of operation before, but not in marble lobbies with classical music. He'd seen it in government buildings and safe houses. The methodology was unmistakable. Establish perimeter control, secure all access points, maintain communication protocols. These men were terrorists, and they'd just made the mistake of choosing a target managed by someone who'd spent 15 years hunting their kind. "I see," Marcus said, his voice betraying nothing. "That's quite an unusual request." The man's smile disappeared. "No calls, no authorizations. You will simply announce to your guests that there's been a water emergency, and they must remain in their rooms until morning." Sarah started to protest, but Marcus placed a gentle hand on her shoulder and gave her the slightest nod toward the back office. She was smart enough to recognize the signal and began edging away. "Of course," Marcus said, "but you understand, I'll need to know more about the nature of your event." The lead terrorist reached inside his jacket and placed a pistol on the marble counter. Not pointed at anyone, just visible. A statement of capability and intent. "The nature," he said quietly, "is none of your concern. Your concern is doing exactly what we tell you to do." Marcus looked at the weapon, and Sig Sauer P226, well-maintained, probably modified. Professional hardware. His eyes moved briefly to the positions of the other 5 men, automatically cataloging their probable loadouts. 6 hostiles, unknown backup, unknown timeline, civilian population throughout the building, including families with children, no immediate backup, no weapons. In other words, a fairly typical Tuesday night during his previous career. "I understand," Marcus said, reaching slowly for the hotel phone. "I'll make the announcement." But instead of lifting the handset, he pressed a specific sequence of buttons. To anyone watching, it looked like he was accessing the PA system. In reality, he was activating a security protocol he'd personally installed, a silent alarm that would alert law enforcement without any visible indication. "Ladies and gentlemen," Marcus said into the phone, "this is the night manager. Due to a water pressure issue in the building, we're asking all guests to remain in their rooms until morning. Room service will continue to operate normally throughout the night." The code words were embedded. Water pressure issue meant armed individuals. Remain in rooms until morning indicated hostages. Room service continues normally meant situation ongoing but stable. Police response time, 30 minutes minimum, which meant Marcus had to figure out what they wanted and stop them before help arrived. The lead terrorist nodded approvingly. "Very good. Now, we need access to room 1247. Marcus blinked. Room 1247, the Kowalski family. 3 kids, parents, grandmother celebrating her 80th birthday. "May I ask why?" Marcus said carefully. "No," the man replied. "You may provide us with a key card." 6 armed terrorists wanted access to a family with 3 children, and Marcus Davidson was the only thing standing between them and whatever they planned to do. He reached for the keycard programmer, buying time. Instead of creating a card for room 1247, he programmed access to a service corridor that would trigger a silent lockdown of guest floors. "Here you are," Marcus said, sliding the card across the counter. "Elevators are on your right." The lead terrorist gestured to 2 men. They moved toward the elevators while 4 remained covering the lobby. Marcus watched them go, counting seconds. 3 minutes before they'd realized the key didn't work. "Sarah," Marcus said quietly, "go to the back office and lock the door. Don't come out until police arrive." She stared at him. "Mr. Davidson, what's happening?" "People who made a very poor choice of targets," Marcus replied, his voice different now. "Go, now." As Sarah disappeared, Marcus turned to the 4 remaining terrorists. The lead man was watching him carefully, sensing something had changed. "You seem remarkably calm for a hotel manager," he observed. Marcus allowed himself the faintest smile. 8 years in hospitality teaches you to handle unusual situations. You'd be surprised how often guests make unreasonable demands involving firearms. His phone buzzed. 2 men stuck in elevator. Key malfunction. Need override. Perfect. The lockdown was working. Marcus shrugged apologetically. "Your colleagues are having trouble. These old buildings have systems that don't work well together." The man's expression darkened. "Fix it." "Of course," Marcus said, moving toward the mechanical access panel. "Manual resets are just over here." His phone buzzed again. "Override unsuccessful. Send maintenance or we breach door." The lead terrorist read over his shoulder. "Your colleagues are becoming impatient." "Hotel maintenance can be complicated," Marcus replied. "I'm sure they don't understand." The man drew his weapon. "Perhaps you should explain that patience is important for their health." That's when Marcus realized the situation had escalated beyond waiting for law enforcement. These were professionals who'd planned this operation in detail. Time for Marcus Davidson, quiet hotel manager, to have a conversation with Marcus Reese, former Delta Force operative. "You're right," Marcus said, looking directly at the terrorist. "Patience is important for health. Unfortunately, your colleagues upstairs seem to be running short on both." Something in his voice had changed, not louder, but carrying an undertone that made the other terrorists shift positions. "You speak as if you have experience with such situations," the lead man said. Marcus nodded slowly. 15 years of experience, different kind of hospitality, the kind where uninvited guests don't get to check out. The lobby went quiet as the 4 terrorists reevaluated the man behind the desk. "What kind of hospitality was that?" the man asked. The kind that taught me to recognize professionals, Marcus replied. Romanian intelligence, probably SVR trained based on your equipment and methodology. This isn't about money. This is about elimination. The man's weapon came up slightly. And what kind of professional would know such things? Marcus smiled, and for the first time in 8 years, it wasn't the polite smile of a hotel manager. It was something much colder. The kind who spent 15 years making sure people like you never completed their missions. That's when the lights went out. Marcus had palmed the manual override switch, cutting power to the lobby. Emergency lighting kicked in, casting everything in red shadows. In the confusion that followed, Marcus moved. 15 years of muscle memory overrode 8 years of civilian life. He vaulted the counter, rolled behind the nearest pillar, coming up with a letter opener, 8 inches of steel that would serve until he acquired something better. The terrorists reacted professionally, but they hadn't anticipated the man behind the front desk. Marcus used their disorientation to reach the restaurant entrance, moving with the smooth efficiency of someone who'd done this in far more dangerous places. The kitchen would provide weapons and access to the service elevator. Because while 4 terrorists dealt with an unexpectedly capable hotel manager, 2 more were trapped near the Kowalski family's room. And Marcus realized something that made his blood run cold. They didn't want to extract someone from room 1247. They wanted to eliminate someone. The kitchen was empty but fully stocked. Marcus found what he needed: a chef's knife, a meat tenderizer. Most importantly, the service elevator the terrorists didn't know existed. As the elevator climbed to the 12th floor, Marcus remembered things he'd spent 8 years forgetting. Room clearing procedures, silent movement techniques, how to disable armed opponents when noise would compromise civilian safety. The doors opened onto a service corridor. From here, he could access room 1247 through maintenance passages. He moved through the corridor until he reached the ventilation access point. Through the grate, he could see the Kowalski family huddled on the bed, frightened by commotion in the hallway. 3 children, parents, grandmother, no evidence of anything that would make them targets, just a family in the wrong place. But they weren't alone. A 7th terrorist was positioned by the window with a sniper rifle aimed at the building across the street. This wasn't elimination. It was assassination. The Kowalski family were hostages, ensuring the sniper had an uncompromised position. Marcus understood now. Someone across the street was the real target. The Grand Metropolitan had been chosen as a firing position. The lobby team was containment. The sniper was the primary objective. The family were expendable witnesses. The ventilation grate came away silently. Marcus lowered himself into the bathroom. He could hear the sniper coordinating with spotters, confirming target acquisition. Between Marcus and the sniper were 7 civilians and 10 feet of open space. A direct assault would endanger the family, but anything less would give the sniper time to complete his mission and eliminate witnesses. Marcus had been in similar situations before, but never as a hotel manager armed with kitchen utensils. He'd have to be enough. The bathroom door was ajar, giving him a view of the room. The sniper focused on his scope, tracking something across the street. The family pressed together on the far side of the bed. Marcus calculated angles and timing with cold precision. Right-handed sniper meant limited peripheral vision on the left. Barrett M82. Powerful at range but unwieldy in close quarters. The man was focused externally, not expecting internal threats. Marcus moved. The door swung open silently as he crossed the space in 3 steps. The chef's knife took the sniper through the base of the neck before he could turn. Professional, efficient, silent. The Barrett clattered down, and Marcus secured the radio. The operation wasn't over. 4 terrorists remained in the lobby, 2 trapped in elevator. But the primary objective was neutralized, and the Kowalski family was safe. "Everyone stay exactly where you are," Marcus said quietly. "Help is coming, but remain silent until police arrive." The grandmother looked at him with sharp eyes. "You're not really a hotel manager, are you?" Marcus smiled slightly as he picked up the radio. "Ma'am, I'm absolutely a hotel manager, but I used to be something else." He keyed the radio, mimicking the dead sniper's voice. "Target acquired. Beginning final preparations." The response came in Romanian. The assassination was scheduled for 12:30 a.m., 20 minutes away. The target was a Ukrainian diplomatic official in the building across the street. This was state-sponsored assassination using the hotel as a firing position with civilian casualties planned to eliminate witnesses. Marcus made a decision that would have been unthinkable 8 years ago when he was still just Marcus Davidson, quiet hotel manager. But he wasn't just Marcus Davidson anymore. Not tonight. He was Marcus Reese, and Marcus Reese never left operations unfinished. "Stay here," he told the family. "Lock the door, and don't open it until police identify themselves." He keyed the radio again. "Complications in lobby. Send backup to 12th floor immediately." A calculated risk, drawing terrorists away from positions toward a location where he could engage them without endangering civilians. The service corridor would become a controlled killing field. Marcus Reese had fought where rules were simple: complete the mission, protect innocents, eliminate threats. Tonight, in a 5-star hotel, those rules still applied. The elevator descended, carrying a man who'd spent 8 years learning to be invisible through competence, now remembering how to be invisible through lethality. The Grand Metropolitan had been chosen as an easy target by professionals who thought they'd done their homework. They were about to learn that some homework has unexpected final exams. The lobby remained under emergency lighting when doors opened, everything cast in ominous red. Marcus could hear movement, terrorists spread out covering the space, expecting colleagues from main elevators. They weren't expecting a hotel manager with a sniper rifle and 15 years of reasons to end their mission permanently. Marcus had discarded the knife for the Barrett, unwieldy in close quarters but unmistakable in psychological impact. When professionals see a Barrett M82 in capable hands, they reevaluate tactical assumptions. "Gentlemen," Marcus called out, voice carrying across marble with quiet authority. "Your operation is complete, primary asset neutralized, mission timeline compromised. Law enforcement arrives in 8 minutes. Silence. Then movement as terrorists adjusted positions for this new variable. "I'm offering one opportunity to leave alive," Marcus continued. "Walk out now and disappear. Stay, and I'll finish what you started." The lead terrorist's voice came from behind the concierge desk. "You killed Dmitri." "Dmitri killed himself when he pointed a rifle at innocent civilians," Marcus replied. "Just like you'll kill yourselves if you don't take my offer." "You're one man with one rifle." Marcus smiled in the red-tinted shadows. "I'm one man who spent 15 years ensuring people like you don't complete missions like this. The rifle is just a conversation starter." What followed wasn't a gunfight. It was a brief educational seminar on the difference between being armed and being dangerous. Marcus moved through the lobby like reading sheet music, every step and shot timed to operational rhythm he'd conducted in 12 countries under conditions that made hotel lobbies look like training exercises. The Barrett spoke once, twice, 3 times. When emergency lighting returned to normal, Marcus Davidson stood in his marble lobby, straightening his navy tie and checking reservations for late arrivals. The only evidence was silence, and the fact that the Grand Metropolitan would need significant maintenance before resuming normal operations. By the time law enforcement arrived, the hotel manager was calmly briefing staff and ensuring guest services would be restored by morning. After-action reports would note threat neutralization by an unidentified security professional, but details remained classified at federal agencies' request. Marcus Davidson returned to normal routine the following week. Same navy suit, same quiet efficiency, same practice smile for guests needing towels or complaining about breakfast. But he made one small change. Every morning at 6 a.m. before day shift arrived, he spent 30 minutes in security office reviewing camera feeds, updating emergency protocols, ensuring all systems functioned properly. Because Marcus Davidson learned something during his 8-year vacation from violence. Some skills never fade, some responsibilities never end, and some people never really retire. They just find different ways to serve. The Grand Metropolitan continued operating as a monument to quiet luxury, guests blissfully unaware their safety was maintained by a man who'd spent 15 years ensuring evil people never completed their plans. If anyone asked staff about the quiet hotel manager who remembered everyone's name and never raised his voice, they'd simply say Mr. Davidson was very good at his job. They just never mentioned what his job used to be. Some stories don't need telling. They need living, quietly and competently, one night shift at a time. Because the greatest victories are often ones nobody hears about, protected by men who never stopped serving, even when the world forgot they existed. True professionals don't retire from the mission. They just find new ways to complete it.